but I thought that was funny, when that happened, you know. you know. Some incidents me and her had. I remember one time me and her was still together, and I decided I was gonna go. Oh, I know what happened. I had a friend that called me, and he wanted me to come to Detroit to pick him up. Because at this time he was having issues. He was having issues about places to stay or something like that. He was just having a hard time, and he wanted me to come pick him up because, you know, I guess he was going here to there, staying with people and stuff like that. So I said, "Yeah, I'm gonna come and get you." And so I told her, I said, "Hey, I'm gonna take you to Detroit. You ever been to Detroit?" She was like, "Nah, I've been to Des Moines, Iowa." And I was like, "Well, I'm gonna take you to Detroit, and then you can see where I grew up at, stuff like that." Anyways, when I get there, I go see dude, and then I tell him, I said, "Hey," I talked to him for a while. Then I said, "Hey, I'm gonna come back and pick you up when I get ready to go back to Tennessee." But for some reason, he was wanting to know if he could go with me right then. But the thing was, me and her and some other people that I knew, we was all having a get together, and we already planned this get together. So I wanted to have it get together and stuff. And then 2 days later, we was gonna come by and get him and take him back down south. But anyways, meanwhile, I'm in Detroit, and I don't stay in hotels in Detroit. I got a lot of people in Detroit where I can go stay at their house or whatever. Or some of them's got empty apartments they'll let me use. But anyways, so we go there, and I go to a friend of mine's place, and he's got an apartment building on Verner Highway in Detroit, Michigan. So anyways, he's living on the second floor. And then he says, "Hey, I got a whole downstairs place. It's got a bathroom, and it's all been brand new painted and new carpet, and there's some tile on some of the rooms and stuff like that. So it's all brand new downstairs." He said, "You and your old lady can stay down here, and he said we'll put y'all a bed down there and stuff like that." So basically just a box spring and mattress, and then some quilts, and sheets, and stuff like that. So that's what we did, and we stayed down in there. But I remember we was having a get together at his place, and then late that evening, he gave me the key to get in downstairs because it had an armor guard door, then a door with a deadbolt lock and stuff. But this whole time, this redhead girl that I'm going with, she's kind of, first she's scared just to be in the city by herself, you know what I mean? And I told her she'd be all right. But she was just, hanging on to me and stuff like that. And she was just, seemed like she was pretty scared, but there really wasn't nothing to be afraid of. But anyways, we're going down there, and then we get going down the steps, and there's a bucket at the bottom of the steps. And she ends up stepping in the bucket, and I had to pull the bucket off of her foot because she steps in this bucket. Because, it's kind of dark is what it was. And, but anyways, we get up in that apartment and stuff, and then while we're in there and stuff, before we go to sleep, there's a ladder in there where a step ladder where they've been using to work on the apartment. But later, this ends up being a dollar store, is what it ends up being. But anyways, we're down there, and then she wants me to take some pictures of her, and she wants to take some pictures of me just while we're in Detroit and stuff like that. So we do that. Then I take her over by Casey Fence Company, and there's an apartment building over there across from Milo's Bar. And this is where another friend of mine stays, in a basement apartment. So I go see him to let him know I'm in town, and I tell him we're going to have a get together at Milo's Bar later that evening. And so I told him that, and he's like, yeah, I'll be over there. And then I went around to see some other friends while I was in town and stuff like that. So we all got together over there. And while I was over there, she wanted to play the slot machine, so she was playing the machines they had in this bar. And anyways, as we're having to get together, then I run into my ex-brother-in-law. He comes in with his old lady, which I knew her too. And so they end up joining us and stuff like that. And we have a good get together and everything. Then the next day, we go back to we're at the apartment building on Verner, and she wants to go up to the roof of the apartment building just to take pictures of the city, down Verner Avenue and stuff like that. So she goes up there and does that. And then we get ready to go. So I go get a friend of mine that I was originally coming here to pick up anyways. And I go pick him up, and we take him back down south, just to get him out of the situation he was in, because he was like having a hard time staying, at different places or whatever. So got that. He was relieved that we, because when I got him picked him up, he was like, I didn't think y'all was gonna come back, So I was like, why would I come all the way from Tennessee to Detroit to pick you up and then not pick you up? I told him I would have got you the first time, but it was just I had other things to do, and I wanted to make sure that I done told them people we was going to get together and all that, and that's what the situation was. Then we get back down south, stuff like that, and it's interesting because we end up taking my friend to somebody else's place. He's staying with them. He's not actually staying with me. And then my old lady's mom and dad drove semi trucks as a team. And so we used to go, clean the semi truck, wash it and stuff for her dad, and then her dad would pay her. And I ain't never took no money from him myself, but I did help her, wash the truck and all that, but he would just give her a check, But the way her mom and dad was, they just left her a checkbook anyways, because they was gone so long. And they lived in the same trailer park we lived in. And they was gone so long, sometimes if she had to take care of like their bills or something like that, like a light bill, whatever, or lot payment or whatever she had to do, that's why she had the checkbook. And they'd call her and tell her what to pay and how much to pay and all that. So, and then plus, if she ever needed anything, all she had to do was ask them, and they always gave it to her. But they were good people. When they was in town, we used to go to their house on Sunday. Her mom would always cook dinner, and her mom would always cook you know, gravy and biscuits, fried chicken, green beans, you know, mashed potatoes, just all kind of good stuff, you know. And I used to look forward. I told her mom that many a time. I said, I look forward to y'all being in town and coming over here and eating this food because it's really good, you know. And they were good people too. But anyways, as time passed, me and her parted ways. And then I ended up moving to a place called Pikeville. And Pikeville, it's a little town. It ain't much going on over there, but it's a small town. Then I ended up working at a place in Ray County for a little while. And then after that, I kind of worked for myself some, you know, just doing things here and there or whatever. But that was interesting, you know. But then later on, I ended up moving back to Detroit, which I did a lot, you know. In my lifetime, I've moved, you know, I spent like 30 years in Detroit, and then after that, I was back and forth to the south, back up north, you know, just going back and forth, you know. And so that's why in this story there's a lot of South stories and there's a lot of Detroit stories. But like I said, if I get a lot of subscribers, at the end I'll do a full circle, and then, not saying my stories ain't been interested and make you laugh and all that, but if I get enough subscribers, I'll do a full circle and it gets real deep, and I'll start at the beginning and I'll just go through the whole thing, and you'll be amazed what you'll hear and the things that's happened, you know. But meanwhile, I'm just gonna keep on going with the story, you know. So anyways, I moved back to Detroit, and then while I'm living in Detroit, I'm working at Myers. And while I'm working at Myers, one day I'm going to work, and I worked at the evening night shift, and I got, you know, all night. But anyways, as I'm going to work, I'm going down Michigan Avenue, and people are just, you know, rioting on Michigan Avenue, and, you know, just all kind of chaos is going on. And what had happened is the Detroit Tigers won the World Series, and they were just you know, going off and stuff like that, and really getting out of hand because they were just messing up stuff basically. And but that's just what took place during that time. And I thought that was something else because I could see that, you know, you glad that your team won and stuff like that, but tearing the city up and stuff like that ain't no way to do things, you know. And plus, a lot of people get hurt and stuff like that. And then a lot of cars catch on fire. Just a whole bunch of stuff happens when they do them excited, what you'd call it, excited, uh, excited to be a winner. But I'm sure a lot of people was not excited to go to jail for the chaos they were doing, you know. But you'd have to be there to see what I'm talking about. And people from Detroit, they know what I'm talking about, you know. And but yeah, just people was just getting straight up out of hand and doing crazy stuff, you know. But that's just the way it was back then, you know. Now they got all new stadiums and stuff like that. And, you know, things are starting to look up in Detroit, especially the downtown area. It looks really good. And they just need to move it out to the, and they're moving it out to the neighborhoods really, because if you like go down Trumbull Avenue or something like that, it's nothing like it used to be, you know. But last I checked, my house that I grew up in on Trumbull was still there. So I don't know how long that would be there, but I thought that was amazing because they done built so many new things, you know. But a lot of my neighborhood was gone too, you know, because we had like the corner building on my block, and it had Rogers Party Store in the basement on Trumbull Avenue in Detroit, Michigan. And we used to go to this store a lot. And in this building, I remember in this building, there was a lot of people hung out on the porch, but a lot of people hung out on porches all through the city. You know, that's just what they did. Is just staying in the house. They would hang out on the front porch and, you know, have some drinks. Friends would come by and visit, whatever the case may be. But you know, I remember when we as kids, we used to get stuff in the alleys and stuff like that. Like people would put out like a chair, a coffee table, a lamp, whatever. And if we, because we always wandered through the city anyways, you know, walking, no matter be up the street or down the alley or whatever. And if we found something that we thought we could sell, we would take it to our backyard and just, you know, put it in the backyard and just whoever would come by, because a lot of people walk down the alleys because it was a shortcut. And then whoever would come by, we'd try to sell it to them. And I remember this old lady came by and she seen the chair, and we're young cats at this time. And she sees this chair and she likes it. And it looked pretty good. I think somebody just put it out because they got a new chair or whatever. But this chair looked pretty good. And she said, I need that chair. And then she was like, how much y'all want for it? Well, we told her $10. And she said, yeah, I can do that. She said, you think you could take it up to my place? And man, she lived on the third floor in this corner building. So me and my cousin, we actually carried this chair all the way up the steps to her apartment and then got $10 for her. But it was a chair we found in the alley. So it was like, you know, we had to put a little labor involved in it, but at least we made $10. And then we made some other money too, because we had some other things. And, you know, made $1 here, $2 there, whatever, you know, just selling stuff that we'd find. So that was interesting. You know, we'd do that. And this was in the summertime when school's out. Well, a lot of times we stayed in the backyard anyways because we used to have a garage in the back, but then it burned down, so it was just a concrete slab. And then we had a basketball hoop that was hooked to the neighbor's side of their garage with a backboard. And we stayed out there a lot just playing basketball and stuff like that. And, you know, it was interesting. We had a lot of good times on Trumbull Avenue. But especially in the summertime. But them are some of the stories that happen, and I hope y'all enjoy the stories as I'm telling them. And I'm gonna cut this one off here, but I appreciate y'all listening. And if I can get y'all to subscribe, hit the like and the notification, and share. And if you want to support the channel, the cash out is $ FC313. The PayPal is DDT313. So if you want to support the channel, feel free. Y'all enjoy y'all's day and be watching out for the next video. And if you hit your notification bell, it'll give you a notification when the next one's ready. So, and subscribe and hit the like and have a good one.